Captain, I've confirmed the death of Ethan Winters. I wasn't able to retrieve the body, but I've recorded evidence.
Share your screen, and I'll go over the situation. In chat, I was careless. I asked a sandwich to play Village of Shadows Knives Out, but he didn't want to.
Who knew that it could be that hard?
Since I hadn't played in some time, I grinded out on hardcore. But when I realized the difficulty, it was too late. When I got to the end, my sanity was gone. I had come too far to just give up. I didn't have much left. I couldn't stop. And I was not gonna walk away from it. Village of Shadows on New Game Plus isn't too bad. You can rack up a bunch of upgrades and breeze through it. Knives Out isn't too bad on casual or normal, where you can simply walk through everybody. Doing both of them together is an absolute nightmare. So I decided that's what I was gonna do. And it did not turn out at all like I thought it would. My predictions were pretty much all wrong. When I did hardcore, I tested out how the knife would feel when I first started, and these first few enemies kinda sucked. But I did learn some tips and tricks and places to hide, so it wasn't all bad. That being said, the difference between hardcore and Village of Shadows is still pretty dramatic. Get eaten by this guy and then take him out, and move on to get beat up. But that's okay, because this ladder right here is the saving grace. They can't hit you on it, and you could just chill out for a second to regain your composure. Beyond that, there's not much else to do except for avoid them and try not to die. Two things that I'm obviously very good at. Walking into this one way was probably not the best strat, but after restarting, I didn't have too much more trouble other than wasting all of my health all the time. Despite going 12 rounds every time I met someone, I was getting a little more confident, and by the end of this, I felt decent with this lightsaber. And it's finally over, and we can get thrown off the roof into the field. So nothing really happens that's exciting for quite a while after this. Burn down a house, get a key, go to the castle, get kidnapped, you know, basic things.
Well... Jesus Christ!
After Ethan's done hanging around, he goes in the basement to find the night shift lives there. And even though they're probably decent people, they haven't had their coffee, so he has to take them all out. So this guy takes a chunk out of me, and I'm on to fight the first daughter of the castle. Oh yeah, and she brings two of her friends, which makes this much more awful. On the other hand, she's got some serious combos. I wish I had combos like that. So far, this has been one of the toughest single enemies in the run. Even though she's not too bad, it's hard to fight in such a cramped area. But after running away and getting her singled out, it's not too bad.
Move your hands!
The moment she's done, I get the heal off so this guy doesn't finish me and move on to the next part. So I pick up the bottle, go upstairs and put it in the place to get the key, run down to the basement and fight off some more degenerates. A whole lot of degenerates. After they're done, we go upstairs and meet the lady of the house.
Oh, shit.
There you are. All this for a child who isn't even here.
Go ahead. Do your worst.
And then she does her worst. I didn't realize that Village of Shadows changes the pathing, so she gets in this one. But once I get a hand on things, it's over. I'm out.
Man, screw this castle.
So I'm off to take care of the next daughter, and I want to test this to make sure she's not going to take damage. Luckily, she's invulnerable until that door is open. I guess it doesn't matter because she still folds me like the laundry. But the next round, I break the wall and go in for the kill. After that, it's just a bunch of running around finding more of the masks and keys until we get to the last daughter up in the library. Like the other girls, her one weakness is fresh air, so I open the window and take her out.
So mean. I don't want to die.
Then we get Ethan using his strong hand to get the last mask before we go confront Mommy. And Mommy tells us we're a bad boy for playing with knives.
Ruined everything.
Looks like your outside matches your inside. Son of a witch.
I was a little worried about this fight because she flies around through most of it, but honestly, I found it wasn't too bad. Except where I forgot that flies eat you if you don't hide from them. That was a bad move on my part. Oh, and whatever this is, I thought I was dead. Well, I was, but it was to the flies, not her. So I started again, and then go behind her and just smack her until she flies away. I finally learned my lesson and hid from the flies to make it through the end of the fight. She's hell-bent on eating me and wants to smash the entire building, so I run to the roof to finish her off.
Every last morsel.
And it turns out it really wasn't as bad as I expected it to be. So I get to move on and go on vacation with Ethan here in a minute.
You're the one who's cursed.
Why, you have your daughter right in your own hands.
This part seemed a little intimidating considering how many lichens spawn, but I realized you can just stuff the jack handle in there and crawl under without any real problems, and they just leave you alone.
Damn it. Better see the Duke again.
If you truly wish to save your daughter, you must first gather the 4 flasks.
And then we get the vacation. Well, until you're stuck getting in this elevator with this monstrosity after you, this has definitely scarred this poor man for life. I know I have psychological damage now. And then we're off to go see the fish frog monster thing. But not before I go through the dog park. I think they just want to play, but unfortunately for me, they want to play with my bones, and they're inside me. So I casually run away and almost let that happen.
Mother Miranda, if it's for you, I'd do anything.
I'm calling Dateline.
I'll just be taking this.
So after our little meetup with Chris Hansen, we open the floodgates and deal with this guy once and for all.
Got it.
So I check to make sure I didn't fail and jump in and get to it. I really underestimated how ridiculous it can be, and I have quite the rough time here. Unbeknownst to me, it turns out he can stun lock you with his vomit, which is fantastic. Ew. That's alright though, because I come back ready for it, and I ain't leaving until his ass is kicked. Pretty cool that these little barrels that explode don't count as damage against you, so I'm gonna use everything I can get. Was a little worried for a second that this run was over, but luckily the house happened to save me, so I took what I can get, and I used that barrel to my advantage. I might have made a small mistake here, looking for health and only finding ammo, but I didn't die, so it's fine. Another barrel coming in clutch though, so that helped out quite a bit. So this little roll right here used to get me pretty unexpectedly, but once I figured it out, I stopped losing health to it and started kicking his ass. So right here when he swells up, that's how you know he's gonna spit at you. And instead of trying to fight him, I decided to run, which turned out to be the right move. So I come in here and finish him off.
In death as he was in life. Disgusting.
I just love that Ethan doesn't hold anything back. Like, this man's a savage. Just wants his kid and to go home. So then, you're supposed to get the last flask in the stronghold for Walter White. You pull these two levers, opens a gate, and you go up to the main building to fight off a bunch of guys. This part really wasn't too bad. Had a couple close calls, but in the end it was pretty easy for me. But then, you get into the stronghold, and I had a terrible time here. This run wasn't even close. The next 10 runs weren't much closer. It really probably doesn't help that I was mostly just trying to brute force this. And yeah, that works, but I'm sure there's better alternatives. I tried bringing them back to the entrance, or going down below and up and using the barrels. That was the worst idea because I actually shot 2 lichens and I just had to restart. I used the other knife, different lightsaber modes here and there. None of them seemed to really work. And although this one was really frustrating, it was also pretty funny. So I got into this, and I was ready for the run. I was using all of my brain cells to try and get through here. maybe I needed to sprinkle a little bit of luck in there, and that's what finally did it for me. When they jumped down, they moved forward a bit, and I didn't realize that until later. But once I did, it was golden. This had my heart racing, and I knew that an armored Lycan jumps down with a whole group, and I was a little worried. I hadn't made it this far, so I was ready to fail. But I just pushed through, went through the doors, and I was done with it. I didn't realize, though, that they'll actually come after you, so I had to just run. Not that I needed the ammo. I took a deep breath, and I was ready. I was feeling pretty good. I had some confidence, finally. And I was about to take out the boss. I was like, I got this. And then, he changed my mind. I did not have this. And I hated him. Actually, I still hate him. As though I really didn't know what I was doing anyway, so I wasn't too frustrated. I just knew that I had to get the patterns down. It makes sense, you know? Boss fights, they're gonna be a challenge. When these guys get summoned in, though, it changes the dynamic. And then you're gonna watch out for them and him. And that made it pretty hard. But it wasn't impossible. I was over here doing great, having an awesome run. And then, those son of a bitches ruined it. I gotta be real honest, that one hurt. A lot. And then, the frustration made all the rest of them that much worse. I needed a couple breaks here, not gonna lie. That's okay though, I'm gonna get it, no matter what it takes. Still running off the adrenaline of that first kill, I knew that I could do this. I was feeling good about it, and I was ready to beat it. It was hard to push through the frustration, but I did it. And then it just didn't get better. And I felt like I was doing worse and worse. I was really feeling the fatigue of this fight, and simple timings started to get a little more difficult. I was not focused enough, and they were just ruining runs. Some of them honestly felt impossible, and I think in a way they were. There was no way I was going to be able to fight all of these guys, plus him. There was just too much going on in such a small space. The different lightsaber modes have different abilities. The blue one gives you more defense, but less attack. The green one will heal you on kills, but the red one has the most power. And the other two modes just didn't really work for me, at least not on Village of Shadows. And I kept trying. I was ready to get through this. This guy has easily been the worst thing in the entire game. So I take these guys out, like I had so many other times, get an absolute lucky jump from him, where he doesn't even come close to me, and I think he actually hurt one of them. So my next move is to try and get him to take up the pillar. I was feeling good here because that shot right there told me he was pretty close to being finished. When he goes into that rage mode, it's usually when he's really low on health. But he goes for the pillar, and I go in for the kill. And I do it. But this time, I run towards the door because I'm afraid that more of those Lycans are going to come and ruin it for me.
Eat shit.
I felt so much relief from that, and I knew that I only had a couple more things to do, and I was done. So I'm off to see Walter to see what this blue stuff is all about.
Don't worry about the kid, Ethan. It'll be fine.
I'm healing my daughter. Look, you got this all wrong.
I don't think I do, Walter. But anyway, I look at my stats to make sure that nothing went crazy. I didn't hit anything or fail for any weird reason. And then I do fail right here by getting eaten. It's alright, I restart and go through it again. And a lot of the factory isn't terrible. There are some tough spots, but with a little bit of luck and knowing where things are, you can get through it pretty easily. This strat of running away works pretty well because it resets them, and then you could move on to shooting these things. So you might be thinking I'm doing a lot better, and I'm not making mistakes like I did in the beginning. But you'd be wrong, because I thought I can just walk around this drill, and you can't. That's okay though, I do still take him out. I wasn't even gonna chance going in there without taking all of these things out first. And I think that was the best idea, because this is all one shot for me. Really? I didn't expect to get by this guy so easily. So, when I got up here, I had a little too much confidence, and then I thought I was gonna die. Somehow I lived, but then I managed to slip by him again, which was amazing. The last part though, I didn't realize that he hadn't fully committed to his attack and does a 180 on me. Luckily, I still survive it, but at the expense of one more health that I had. And then I get to this guy and think, I got this. And he folds me like the laundry. So I just run around him this time. You gotta wait for this mold to complete. It takes a little bit of time, so for some reason I decided to run the other way. And then I go back to this room because there's loot in there. Well, remember the guy I ran around? Well, he comes back to haunt me. And then there's a second one who also haunts me. Maybe I'm doing the haunting because I died. This time though, I decided to just run away. And it turned out that worked out pretty well, because these big armored dudes are not hard to get around. So now I'm at the end of the factory, and there's only one guy between me and Walter.
I don't have time for this bullshit. Out of my way!
You said it, Ethan, but we're gonna be here a while, so don't get your hopes up. Now, despite the fact that I upped my count from 49 to 60, I don't think this one was actually that bad. I exacerbated it by doing small mistakes or just doing things that really didn't make sense. One of the biggest issues, other than just letting him walk right into me, was getting a fire in the wrong spot. You really don't want it out in the open because it'll slow you down. And that cost me quite a few runs. Still, letting him walk right into you probably is one of the most egregious things that I did. Other than those, I probably would have had a much better time. So, when I stepped into the final battle with him, I was actually feeling pretty good. I did a little bit of studying and figured out his movements a little better and when I should run away, and things were going pretty well, except for this spot right here, but other than that, I didn't have a lot of trouble. Despite it's pretty nerve-wracking, sneaking up on a guy that can pretty much one-shot you, I think this is actually a pretty fun fight. One of the better mini-bosses in the game.
Now stay down.
And after he left us for dead, we just gotta find Heisenberg.
When I find Miranda, she's a dead woman.
All right, Ethan.
In all honesty, when I started this challenge, this fight is the one that I thought was going to give me the most trouble. So, I was prepared for the worst. I didn't know what I was in for. Not on this difficulty, at least.
That's what I call being a good son! Don't die like the world's watching! Wanna live down?
So, I do lose once. And then I come back, and I go for it. And actually, I managed to take him down pretty quickly. But, really, this wasn't the part that I was worried about. I was concerned about what happens after he picks you up, when you're on foot without your big gun.
Quit acting full of yourself! Why my Lordy? That boulder punching asshole! But you're first!
So I light up both sides of my saber, and I get ready for a long fight. I start slashing away, not giving an inch, just pushing in, going for it. And all of a sudden, it's over. Turned out to be the easiest fight in the entire game.
Ethan? I heard explosions. What the hell happened?
I dealt with Heisenberg. Now I'm gonna find Miranda and get Rose back.
God damn it, when does it end? Terminate Miranda and rescue Rose. That's the mission. And failure's not an option.
Let's have some fun, people.
I got to Chris's spot, and I didn't expect this to go too smoothly, since there's a lot of enemies, and you're supposed to have an assault rifle. But it didn't turn out to be too bad. Most of them you could just run away from. Unfortunately, they added this part to the game, which is easily the most infuriating and painful. This was clearly made for a masochist by their sadist best friend. And although I'm glad that these people can have a great time, it's very cool. But this one, number 64, I feel like I was really close. For context, each one of these runs is sitting at his ankles, slashing away for 15 straight minutes. This guy has an absurd amount of health and just tanks you, and there's almost nowhere to go. Done with this suffering, I fail this run on purpose just to do it. That move right there was easily the most common reason that I failed a run. Oh look, a new screen though. That's kinda cool. So, at this point, I just wanted to see if he would push me up to the top, which never worked for me. Maybe it's possible, but it wasn't for me. I had no health and no heals, so I figured I'd just stand over here, maybe he'd squish me through on a miracle. And that didn't happen either. And towards the end, I just would give up in certain spots. If I knew I didn't have the health, or if it was too early, I was done. I wasn't having none of this shit. And then I had one of the worst starts ever, so I just immediately restarted.
Guarding the Mega Mice seat, huh?
that initial jump, and then these jumps right here can be pretty dangerous. One hit can take most of your health. 2 hits absolutely murders you. Like this, one small slip, and you have literally 1 health. Luckily, he jumped up and I had the extra heals. This one took another one though. Down to only 1 left. I am absolutely stressed. My heart is racing because I don't want to fail again. And this was my last health. So when I get hit this next time, I have no more heals left. And I have to make this count, because I've been here for an eternity. Felt like purgatory. So I roll in, and I go in for the kill. And I finally get it done. And the amount of relief that I felt was astronomical. This had literally been 4 hours of fighting. My clear time was 4 hours. So I spent the same amount of time fighting that one guy over and over as I did the entire game. That's insane to me.
There wasn't time. We didn't expect Miranda to act so soon.
Even so, you should have told him.
Wait. You can't leave me here. You promised, damn it. You said that you would keep us safe.
I couldn't save him.
You don't understand how special he is.
You're dead.
Dead? No. Rose. I have to save my daughter. Miranda!
Interesting. Your body certainly isn't normal.
Give Rose to me. Now!
You will see. Once I kill you properly,
Get her now!
my desires will be fulfilled! Rose is mine!
What the fuck?
And now, it's time for the final showdown.
You fulfilled
Just
your
us
purpose,
and Miranda.
You disposed of my false children and awakened the glory.
It turns out standing in front of her is a terrible idea, and she takes you out instantly. But that wouldn't be the first time. This one was interesting because even though it wasn't the worst, there was just so much you had to take in. Because she has her flying form, her spider form, her walking form, the darkness zone. It was just a lot. And then I didn't realize you can't shoot that thing. I thought I'd test it anyway. And then I realized I failed. So I tested again, obviously. Yeah, you still fail.
You fulfilled your purpose, Mr. Winters. You disposed of my false children and awakened the glory.
I started getting better though, and
Now, please do not
even though I
worry
was
that
making
Rose,
mistakes, it
I assure
was little by little that I realized her patterns, and eventually I knew that I would get this. But it would just take some trial and error. And even though juggling all these attacks was still a little frustrating, I knew how close I was to the end, and I wasn't going to let anything stop me from making Ethan the universe's greatest dad. So, once you're here in the dark, it felt a little misleading considering the intro, you have to get around her, but in the dark, you have to run almost directly at her.
I will bring back my daughter!
And after that fantastic combo, I finally get to use my gun for the first time in the entire run. The only time that you're allowed to use it.
I
After going through this entire run using only a lightsaber, my first time using a gun again, I don't even know how to aim. And with that, this challenge is done. And it was insane. One of the craziest things that I've done. And I think it was worth it. It was a lot of fun.
I love you.
And I got both trophies at the same time. Knives Out and Universe's Best Dad. But I still needed to get the platinum. But in order to do that, I had to make one more item. So I start up a new game and get that done. With that, I'm done, and Ethan can finally rest.